Hi, almost everyone is watching my channel without a subscription. Please support me and subscribe. I release videos every day for you. Story 1. Up's husband insists they remove her brother from their life. B. They're pregnant and bro has Pocd. My brother has Pocd. Now that I'm pregnant, my husband is forcing me to cut contact with him. My brother is one of the kindest and gentlest people I know. When we were kids, he was always the advice giver and peacemaker. Sometimes I was jealous of him, because even though he was younger than me, he seemed to keep things together effortlessly. That's why my entire family was shocked when he tried to kill himself. We had no idea how much he was suffering, and I still hate myself to this day for not seeing it. Our parents forced him into therapy after that, and he was subsequently diagnosed with OCD. The type of OCD he has is informally known as Pocd. To greatly simplify, it's a form of harm OCD involving children. Harm OCD is when a person is terrified that their intrusive thoughts mean they are going to hurt someone. Everyone has intrusive thoughts, but people with OCD believe that their intrusive thoughts make them bad people. People with Pocd think that their intrusive thoughts mean they are predators towards children. Over the years, my brother has told multiple therapists about his intrusive thoughts, and they have all agreed he is not a predator. I don't think they would risk their licenses by saying he wasn't a predator, if there was even a small risk that he was. They're mandated reporters, for God's sake. It's not like I'm planning on leaving my brother alone with our baby. You wouldn't even agree to that. Real predators don't avoid children, and they certainly don't agonize in fear that they may hurt a child. I've tried telling my husband everything I've written here, but he won't budge. He says that if there is any chance those therapists were wrong, then we can't risk our baby around my brother. He is threatening to leave me if I keep my brother in my life. I understand why my husband is doing this. He was a victim of a predator when he was a child, and I know he's just trying to protect our baby, which is why I'm going to give in. I can't lose the love of my life when I know he's just trying to be a good dad. I convinced him I needed to wait until after New Year's to do it. I'm terrified of what this is going to do to my brother. He's going to ask why I suddenly stopped talking to him, and if I tell him, it might just push him over the edge. If my brother hurt himself over this, I could never forgive myself. Not to mention that my parents and sisters are going to ask why we suddenly stopped going to family functions. They are going to hate my husband if I tell them the truth. My life is about to explode, and I can't even tell the people close to me about it. I can't tell my parents and sisters about this for obvious reasons. If I try to tell my friends about this, they might think my brother is an actual predator. A part of me wishes I never told my husband about my brother's OCD. Before I got pregnant, I confided in him that I was worried about my brother's future happiness. My brother had told me he wanted to get married and have kids, but he didn't think he would be able to. My husband asked me why my brother felt that way. I didn't want to lie to him, so I stupidly told him the truth. OP had posted to asking if her brother's diagnosis could be used against her in a custody battle. That post was removed by mods and could not be recovered. But here are a few comments from the LA Post and the TONC Post. There's no need to cut off your brother due to Pocd. They really need to change the name of that condition. The people who have it aren't pedophiles. They live with crippling and unfounded fear that they are pedophiles and typically avoid kids as a result. Custody defaults to 50-50s. Your husband would have to prove that your brother provides a clear danger to your child, which a Pocd diagnosis does not mean. He could raise the claim, but he could easily refute it. There is no legal need to cut off your brother, and refusing to do so would not affect custody. Your brother is not a pedophile. He suffers from compulsive fear of pedophilia. On a non-legal note, I think you should tell your husband that unless he seeks therapy, you will not allow him around your child unsupervised. This kind of unprocessed trauma around child sexual abuse can lead to very bad parenting decisions that will seriously affect your child. Here is an article. I am currently studying to be a clinical psychologist and thought I would go into more detail about what Pocd is for those who don't know. I'm going to explain this as simply as possible. Pocd is a type of OCD in which an individual is afraid of becoming a pedophile and often has intrusive thoughts about it. This does not mean that a person is actually attracted to children, they just have a terrible fear about becoming attracted to children or harming a child. Here is a wonderful article to review for more examples and information. Also a psychologist and also someone who has OCD. This is 100% accurate. OCD intrusive thoughts are egotistic, meaning that these thoughts are against what an OCD sufferer truly believes in. There's a saying that OCD attacks what you value or hate most, And it's so very true. It's almost a certainty that a person with POCD is so repulsed and disgusted by pedophilia that, metaphorically, the OCD latches onto this, knowing exactly where to hit to cause the most suffering. And in contrast, someone who is an actual pedophile does not worry about harming children. In fact, I'd argue that people with POCD, just like OP's brother, are quite literally the safest people to be around your baby, as the thought of ever harming a child causes them relentless and clinically severe agony. Update: the comments on my last post were a wake-up call for me. They made me realize what my husband's behavior looks like from an outsider's perspective, and I was disgusted by what I saw. I decided to have a conversation with him about my change of heart. First off, I'm not cutting my brother off. Second, he must talk with a psychologist who understands POCD. If he still doesn't feel comfortable with my brother, we won't go to family events where he is attending. I told him that if he didn't agree to those terms, I would pack his bags for him. My husband had a panic attack after I told him this. He threatened to leave me again and said he would get full custody. This time around, I was prepared. I told him I had solid evidence to prove my brother wasn't a predator. Even if the judge isn't receptive at first, multiple psychologists explaining POCD would sway them. I also reminded him I have complete control over his involvement in my pregnancy. There's nothing stopping me from moving out of state to my parents. He stormed out after that. I was worried sick because he didn't come back until the following morning. We had an argument about him not answering his phone. But when we both calmed down, he begrudgingly agreed to my terms. My husband isn't the type of man to break his word, but this whole fiasco has shown me I have to be prepared. I've scheduled a consultation with a family attorney. I want to believe that my husband wouldn't go down that path. I want to trust him, but I can't live my life with the threat of losing my child hanging over my head. He's not a bad man, and I know all of his demands have pure intentions behind it. That being said, I can't allow him to use his trauma as an excuse to become a cruel, controlling person. The other night, I asked him if he had ever gone to therapy about what happened to him. He said no, because talking about it made him feel like he was reliving it. I think therapy would do him good, but I have to respect that he knows what is best for himself. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm no longer scared to face it. Thank you to everyone who commented. I was doubting myself, but seeing the testimonies of so many people with OCD helped me regain my confidence. I have been married to my husband for 4 years. My brother has an anxiety disorder called POCD. It's a form of harm OCD, which is an anxiety disorder. My brother isn't a predator. He has an unfounded and irrational fear of being one. People with POCD are no more likely to offend than people without this condition. I have tried explaining this to my husband multiple times. He refused to listen and threatened to leave me unless I cut contact with my brother. I gave him an ultimatum in return. I told him we won't go to my family functions after our baby is born, as long as he talks to a psychologist who understands POCD. He'd agreed, but it's clear to me now that he didn't mean it. We went to my parents' house for Christmas dinner. My husband seemed upset, but I thought it was because of traveling all weekend. Dinner was going well until my husband asked my uncle why he brought his kids with him. My uncle was confused and asked my husband what he meant by that. My husband then said that he wouldn't allow his children in the same room as a child predator. He used a more graphic term, but I'm not willing to type it. Everything was chaotic after that. My uncle kept asking who the predator was, while my parents and sisters were yelling at my husband. My husband yelled at them back. My brother left the table, and I followed him to his car. He asked me why my husband thought he was a predator. I admitted to telling my husband about his POCD. My brother yelled at me for telling. He said I might have ruined his life. I apologized and tried to explain why I did it. He left without hearing me out. All my worst fears have come true. My parents and my sisters hate my husband, while my husband hates them back. My brother won't talk to me. My mother is trying to explain my brother's condition to my uncle, but we don't know if he'll come around on this. If he doesn't, I might have ruined my brother's life. My husband got everything he wanted, and I'm starting to hate him for it. He isn't even sorry. I can't stand to even look at him right now, and I told him he is banned from any appointments with my OBGYN. I also told him he won't be in the room when I give birth. He thinks I'm punishing him for the sake of a predator. It feels like leaving is my only option. My parents and sisters want me to. Even I want to at this point, but I don't have the heart to. My husband isn't a bad man. I know he is reacting this way because of his past trauma. I don't know how to help him, because he won't go to a therapist to address it. How can I fix all this? TLDR. My husband doesn't understand my brother's mental illness. He ruined Christmas, and now my family hates him. I'm starting to hate him too. Story 2. My sister and mother demand I watch her new baby 3/7 days a week. My 25, younger sister, 21, is pregnant. For the last few weeks, she has been demanding that my so, 27, and I babysit her newborn every weekend, Friday morning, Sunday evening, so she and her so, 21, can have some cool-off time from being parents, to not overstress. Each time, I have laughed at her and shut it down with a quick note, I won't be. And she gets mad I'm not helping her out. Yesterday, she got our mother involved. Mom called me and asked why I was being a self-centered bitch and so selfish. She didn't raise me this way. I told her I was a grown-ass woman, with my own house and life, and that if I wanted to watch kids as a second job, I'd fucking have some. She sputtered out something about me being a horrible person and hung up on me. My so and my one aunt 100% is with me, however my mom, dad, and the other 900 family members and friends they got involved are calling me out on Facebook and blowing up my phone. Quick edit for a few of the same comments coming up. My mom knows the full story of what my sister is asking. She essentially did the same thing with me when I was a bit older. She sees no issues with my sister getting this as well. I've never had a good relationship with my family besides my youngest sister, 16, aunt, and grandparents. I talk to mom, other sister, dad maybe twice a month. Update. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for the support on my last post. Thought I'd share an update and answer some questions now that the baby is here. A lot of comments mentioned that our mother and sister probably spun some sort of tale about how I was just refusing to help period. Not take over 45% of parenting. And well, no. Those who I spoke to knew the entire story. They agreed 2 21-year-olds need a break from parenting. Our mom did with me. Why shouldn't sister get the same courtesy? Whenever family/friends message me about babysitting or give me shit about it, my favorite response has been, you're right. I am selfish/irresponsible/whatever, and probably not fit to take the baby this weekend, but I can be sure to let sister know you volunteered your time this week to help her out. Funny enough, everyone seems to have some generic excuse as to why they can't or won't. I worked all week, it's my wind down time. Not my child, not my responsibility. But somehow it's mine. And my all-time favorite response, it is your responsibility as the oldest to ensure your siblings don't make mistakes. And if they do, you take responsibility, and don't let them ruin their lives over it. There are still kids who need to have fun. You had your turn. People of AITA and entitled parents, please take a moment and reread that last response. What would your reaction or response be? Baby has been here just under 2 weeks now, and my sister or so, and our mother have left multiple messages and voicemails about when they will drop baby off, their expectations for when I have baby, routines, etc. besides a quick, not watching your baby this weekend. I've not answered or responded about it. My so and I took some advice and invested in a doorbell camera and a few others around the house, and as most of you called it, my mother and sister attempted to drop baby off at my doorstep. 6 days after it was born, knocked and tried to run. I spoke through the doorbell and told them they have exactly 2 minutes to pick baby back up, or I was calling CPS for abandonment. My youngest sister, 16, called me about an hour afterwards explaining our mother had attempted to leave the baby with her as well, but it only earned mom a dirty look, while youngest sister simply stepped over the carrier and walked out of the house. She has been staying with us since. So now I've spoken to youngest sister to see how she would feel, and we have a meeting with a lawyer to see if we have any ground to stand on for her to come and live with us permanently, as our parents are threatening to call the police on my so and I for kidnapping/holding youngest sister as a hostage. Oh, before I forget this level of beautiful petty, our aunt, the only one who has supported us, surprised my youngest sister, so and I, and took us out to her cabin for the weekend, where youngest sister posted pictures and tagged our mother, sister, and her so. Man, such an amazing weekend. Sure wish you guys were free to join. Edit. A few commenters mentioned wanting to know more about the doorbell reaction, so neither of them knew about the doorbell. It was a mix of shocked Pikachu and some kind of ragey raccoon faces that they didn't just get away with it. My mother started to argue, but I cut her off by starting to count down. My other sister quickly picked up the baby, and they both left without another word. Hi everyone. I'm sorry, I've been meaning to do a final update on this whole situation. With sister's permission, as this one is mostly an update on her. My so, youngest sister and I met with a lawyer just before the weekend, and my parents have no ground to stand on. Sister is in the middle of enrolling in a high school in my city to start for September. Our mother left a voicemail and a text message to both of us. Mine saying, I hope you're happy. You destroyed, 21, lives by not taking the baby, and you've gone ahead and brainwashed 16 into hating us. She then proceeded to let me know that I've been completely disowned and I'm not welcome to ever contact them again, and that I wouldn't be seeing a dime from them. I'm not sure where she could have gotten that idea, considering I've been living out of her house and self-supporting since I was 16. Sister's message said essentially the same thing. She's been disowned and is no longer welcome to go to them for help. She's always kind of had the same no bullshit attitude as me, but I think this is the first time I've genuinely seen her let go and relax in a long time. We had a long conversation about what our mother messaged us, and in the beginning sister was kind of upset, but after reassuring her she will always have so and I and aunt. She looks free. I'm excited to watch her grow and get to support her on all the ways she wouldn't have gotten from our parents. As for baby CPS and the other sister, I've been in contact with baby daddy's parents recently. Sister, baby daddy are living in their basement. Laid out everything that happened. Showed them messages, doorbell video, etc. They were shocked. And last I heard, we're making plans to try and adopt baby and finding their legal footing as well. They've asked if they can come to us for help as we have more proof to help them. So absolutely we'll be providing anything they could need. Update. Starting with the baby and grandparents going for adoption. That didn't happen. They did sit them down and gave them a hell of a talking to. My 21 sister even apologized for trying to ding-dong ditch the baby. However, she did still pawn the potato off pretty often between our mom, daddy's parents, our grandparents. I am still fairly low contact. I have even babysat the little potato, and oh my god, is the potato easy. Zero crying, 100% giggles and smiles and grunts until I get things right. Mom, oh boy. She's a post all on her own. She has gone bat shit up the wall over the last few months towards me. She hates me, wishes she aborted me. How I'm nothing but a fuck up, etc. She has shown up on my front door and has tried camping out just to get a shot at being in my face or trying to claw youngest sister back down. We have been in contact with the police, as well as some extra security around the house we could manage. She caught me one day a few weeks ago after a pretty rough day in her, and I had it out on the front porch. I've not seen or heard from her personally since. Youngest sister is living her best life right now, I think. She's head over heels for a very nice young man, graduating this year. We applied to universities together. She did decide to speak to a therapist about things just to kind of ground herself, and she's doing great. All in all, pretty successful so far. Do not forget to subscribe and leave comments. Videos are released every day.